Hello, I am your host, Tracy Otsuka. Thank you so much for joining me here for another episode of ADHD for Smartass Women. You know that my purpose is always to show you who you are and then inspire you to be it. And in the thousands of ADHD women that I've had the privilege of meeting, I've never met one that wasn't truly brilliant at something, not one. So, of course, I am just delighted to introduce you to Julie Jancis. Julie Jancis, known as the Angel Medium, is a globally recognized spiritual teacher helping people connect with their intuition, angels, and loved ones on the other side. She is the founder of the Angel Medium brand and host of the top 5 spiritual Apple podcast, Angels and Awakening, which reaches 115,000 downloads per week across 105 countries. Her best-selling book, Angels and Awakening, further showcases her transformative insights, making her a trusted guide for Fortune 500 CEOs, celebrities, influencers, and everyday individuals seeking spiritual growth. Julie resides in the Chicago suburbs with her husband, daughter, and 2 dogs. She enjoys traveling, hosting spiritual retreats, and indulging in Thai and Indian cuisine. Julie, did I get all of that right? And welcome.
Oh, Tracy, you're so amazing. Not only did you get it so right, but thank you so much for all that you do and for having me on the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm delighted. So I hope you know that the first thing we always do is we talk about our guests' ADHD diagnoses. I think it really helps connect you to our listeners. So would you mind letting me know what were the circumstances around your diagnosis?
Yeah, I was in middle school and always did so well with my grades. And towards the end of middle school, seventh, eighth grade year, really started having a hard time with math. Was able to still keep those good grades, but my mom took me in to get diagnosed and they said, yes, it's ADHD. They didn't want to medicate right away. I didn't end up getting medication until maybe freshman, sophomore year of high school, but that was the circumstances.
So, 7th and 8th grade, was it a separate junior high school? So there was a lot of change. You had to go from class to class. You weren't sitting in the same class, for all your subjects.
Yes, exactly. And just sitting in class, it was really hard to concentrate. You'd see a beautiful day outside and then start daydreaming about what you wanted to be doing other than learning about math. That was really where I was at that point.
And so, what were you like as a child? Well, let's say in elementary school.
I would say that everybody has always described me as very outgoing, but I think of myself as a extroverted introvert. So I can be out in front of the world. Hello, world. Here I am. I can inspire. I can be on stage. I can turn things on. That's the same person that I was when I was itty bitty, but I also need my downtime. I need to recoup. And what I found along the way, I thought when I was younger that having a lot of friends meant that you were okay, right? Like that everybody has a lot of friends. And it really wasn't authentic friendships, right? And so I had to learn over the years it's not about the number of friends. It's about the quality of the relationship. It's about the true love, true connection, the true bond that has evolved over time.
So, when you were younger and you ran with a big pack of friends, did you feel disconnected from them? Like, what did it feel like?
This is interesting. So, I was always the person who could jump into any group, right? I could go talk to the goth kids just as easily as I could go talk to the popular kids and the jocks and just be welcomed, honestly, by everyone. When my business gained a lot of traction and became successful, I realized through interactions with high school friends, with younger friends who came to see me for my work, they would say, Julie, we just thought you were so smart. You were always in your own world, like doing your own thing. We just looked at you like you were so intelligent and just so smart. And I was like, ooh, that was not the experience that I had. Because even though I could jump in with all of the different groups, I never felt like I was a part of any of the groups. I'm sure you talk a lot about this on the podcast, but that rejection sensitivity disorder that a lot of us with ADHD have, we're feeling so much more. We're so highly empathic. I believe that our senses are just taking in so much more information than general people. Where to me, I call myself an extroverted introvert because it actually does feel really good. And I get very filled when I'm out having those deep connections with people. But I can't be surface level at all. Like, I will ask you about your deepest, darkest stuff right off the bat, whereas that's not typical for the regular population. They'll be like, oh, that's weird. Like, why are you going there so soon? I don't have that filter. I don't understand that. Like, if I'm going to connect with you, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I will tell you anything and everything about myself. I guess it took me a long time to understand that's not how everybody really is. That's not how everybody interacts with the world.
So when you were in elementary school and you mentioned rejection sensitive dysphoria and you are trying to connect with these friends and you are the kind of person who will just get really personal real fast, was did rejection come from, I mean, did you feel rejection from them, and or was it really rejection but you were just so hypersensitive that you could sense they were uncomfortable,
Mm.
but they liked you enough that you still were their friends?
Yeah. I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but it's something like we lived in 12 different homes before I was 14. Like, it was constant moving, not always out of state, but from one house to another, one school to another. And I think that there is an element of that too, where I was never in one place long enough. And I knew that I kind of had to just dive right in. And what also helped with what you were referring to, that rejection sensitivity disorder, my dad took me in elementary school. He made me join Girl Scouts, which was brilliant. But selling the Girl Scout cookies door to door, we would go through 3 neighborhoods, right? We just kind of make a competition out of it, make it really fun. And I knew very, very young, probably 3rd grade, that rejection could hurt me if I allowed it to, but rejection was just a numbers game. So if I went to 25 different houses and I got 10 yeses, I was already doing that math within my head very early on that, oh, well, if I'm making friends, and this friend says no, okay, it hurts, but I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to go over to that table and talk to those girls, or outside at recess, go talk to those girls. And it was just a numbers game. So I think it really started to hurt more in high school and middle school when the cliques really start forming.
A couple things that I want to follow up on. You said you lived in 12 different homes throughout grade school.
I don't know the exact, not just grade school. No, just from like 0, yeah, through 14.
Why were you constantly moving?
My dad's job. Yeah. So he had it really big on his heart. He wanted to run big airports, and he had to have experience at all different types of airports. So we were constantly on the move so that he could get that.
Okay. And I want to say, I think I said, why did you move? Was it your dad's job? Well, it could have been your mother's job too. So that's my internalized misogyny there. So you just strike me as a very just naturally optimistic, sunny disposition kind of person. And so is that true? Is that how you were in school as well when you were younger?
Yes, there are a couple of, like, triggers. I think we all have triggers, right? Where we're always working on things. I used to believe that there would be people within the world that didn't have any problems, and I wanted to be one of those people. But on the podcast, interviewing hundreds and hundreds of experts, what I found is that, somebody says it out there, I think it's Tony Robbins. The biggest problem is people think that you're not supposed to have problems. So there are still things that trigger me and just
Mhm.
kind of make me feel intensely throughout my body. And I'm so always present with my energy and in the now that it's very easy to catch those things and start to work on them with experts.
You are naturally, though, optimistic.
Oh,
You're
tons.
not an Eeyore by just
Nope. Pooping rainbows and yep, smiling to everybody if I don't know them.
Julie, I'm like you are as well. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. It becomes difficult when you think that, oh, every single part of your life is just supposed to be like this because that's how you naturally are. And then something big hits you over the head. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, wait, I'm not supposed to feel this way. Actually, you are.
Yeah.
It's not always poop and rainbows. Is poop a good thing? I don't know. No poop and rainbows. So, what happened in high school? You alluded to the fact that things may have gotten more difficult.
Yeah, you know what was interesting is, and I don't know if there is science behind this. I would love more of that from you if you know. But I have noticed that with my ADHD, when there are very, very highly stressful situations, my symptoms exasperate or get much worse. And so my parents not just didn't go through just a divorce, we actually fled my dad, and that's a whole topic for a different day. But moved out of state, and it was a very, very big transition. And so they ended up putting me on medication when I was a freshman, sophomore in high school, and that didn't work well. For the very first time, I started getting C's. And listen, I will get all the vaccinations you want me to get. I will take all of the medications, whatever. I'm not against medicine. Um, but it didn't work for me where that happiness, that joyful person, that optimistic person that I constantly am, 99% of the time, oh my goodness, it tumbled and it really took me to a very, very dark place. And I started to, for the very first time in my life, have suicidal thoughts.
We'll talk about medication in a second because I never got to that level, but it literally it took me weeks and maybe it was just weeks where I forgot what it felt like to feel good because I was so intent on, well, I want something to work. And the thing about ADHD medication is it pretty much either works right away or it doesn't. It's rare. I think there are certain like the non-stimulants that you do have to take for a couple weeks for them to start to work. But for me, I felt terrible. I felt much worse. So I couldn't do it versus, like my son was able to take them no problem at all. So I think everybody's different. But I want to answer your question as far as what happens when we're really stressed. Basically, when you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Mhm.
And in small doses, I mean, cortisol is great. We wouldn't get out of bed, right, without cortisol. So we need cortisol. But in high doses, like during chronic stress, what it does is it impairs the prefrontal cortex, which is already struggling in ADHD brains, right? Because that's what's responsible for all of our executive functions. So what this means is our working memory, impulse controls, decision making, and emotional regulation, it takes a
Mhm.
hit. That's what makes ADHD symptoms even worse when we're stressed. And then that stress steals energy from your brain. So we already burn through mental energy quickly. But when we're stressed, it makes it worse because we're using up glucose and oxygen in the brain even faster. And that leaves less energy for attention, memory, and motivation. So, of course, we become more forgetful, we can zone out, we have more difficulty completing tasks. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's fascinating.
What I wanted to know, or what I wanted to talk about more, is for a lot of people, we know that ADHD meds are life changing. But for you and me, they had the opposite effect. And it sounds like they really did not do well for you. And you know what I'll also say? When my son was on Adderall, he had pretty much the same experience that you're talking about. Maybe not as extreme, but he definitely was depressed. And we, as his parents, were looking around thinking, oh, it was his football coach, it was a brand new school, it was all of these things, because he was also a freshman in high school. He was in a public school for the first time. And no, what it was the medication. I mean, I'm sure those things didn't help, but it was the Adderall. I want to know, how did your experience with struggling so much with medication, how did it shape the way you manage ADHD today?
Well, what was interesting, and I don't know if other people, your listeners, do this, but I always look at myself like, I need to look to somebody else to tell me what to do, like they're the expert. But in reality, we really need to be so in tune with our own energetics and our own body, which is really why I think I found energy healing and the spiritual world, because I didn't just try Ritalin in 1996. I went on then to try all of them, right? Like all, because I was like, okay, well, then the doctor said, well, this one doesn't work for you, so let's try this one. And this one doesn't work for you, it gives you the same thing, so let's try this one. I've probably tried it 7 to 8 times, like all of the different trying to go on it. Every single time it changes my energetics. And so I started to look more at, I don't feel like me when I'm on these medications. Here I am, elementary up to middle school, getting straight A's and B's. Really in high school and college too. It was only when I went on the medications that my grades dropped.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
Oh, then what is the point, right? And you feel like crap? No point.
Well, and these medications, my mom's a cleaner. My husband is like a cleaner. He would mop every night if I let him. They made me clean. The medications would make me clean. And so my mom would be like, oh my God, she's fixed. And I was like, yeah, but now I can't do what I need to do. I can't do my schoolwork. I can't excel. And I was excelling even in high school. At 14, I got hired on to be a writer for one of the third largest newspapers in Illinois, a contributor to their newspaper. And what I learned is that, oh my gosh, when I just allow myself to be me and work within the boundaries of how ADHD operates within me, my God, do I excel. But when I try and put limitations on myself, and when I try and do things the way that other people want me to do them because I want to fit in, everything goes wrong. I just want to bring this up because Spirit is saying to insert this. I got to go as an adult, maybe 5 years ago, to a dinner for all entrepreneurs. And it was the best run dinner I have ever been to, where it wasn't just having dinner, but probably 20 of us sitting around this long table, and we would all pick questions and go around one by one and answer the questions. And I thought it was so wild because it was the first time I sat with these other human beings and I was like, I'm home. I feel so at home with them. They are open, they're sharing, they wear their heart on their sleeves. They have the exact same troubles that I do. They have the exact same challenges. They have the same types of passions and momentum that fuel them forward. These are my people. And it was so wonderful to have that experience. I think it's an experience that every single ADHD person on earth should have, to know what it feels like, what I think neurotypical people probably feel like in everyday life.
You just felt completely accepted and like these were your people.
Yeah, they're not trying to change me. They're not trying to make me be neurotypical. They are like, go, do this, follow your dreams, follow your passion, run. And it was wonderful.
And they're probably really interesting too because they're all
Yeah.
doing their thing.
Yeah. Completely fascinating.
I love that. What I do want to say is obviously, I am not the kind of person, hopefully, Julie isn't either, who doesn't believe that doctors know their craft, that scientists know their craft. We need to obviously pay attention to what it is that they're saying. But what doctors don't know is how medication feels in us when we take it. So that's what at least I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? I think that it just takes other people hearing that there's other ways. And hey, if it works for you, my God, if ADHD medicine worked for me, I would be taking it religiously, but I want to live. And this is my only way to.
Yeah. So you found alternative ways, I'm assuming, to boost your own dopamine, to manage your ADHD. What are the things that actually work for you that you found?
Yeah, I believe that we are souls first and foremost, and that we're spiritual beings really coming to have this experience here on earth. And I think there's a lot of things that people don't talk about that are very spiritual in essence, that we really have intuition, right? And I find that my ADHD peers are so much more connected to their own intuition, not just hearing it, but following it, taking action on it, listening to it. And there's a lot of science behind intuition.
That's what I want you to get into, the science of it.
They studied, I think it was Harvard Business Review, studied business leaders. And business leaders who just made decisions based on the facts did not do well, paled in comparison to business leaders who actually looked at all of the facts and then sat with their intuition and said, what is my heart saying? What is my intuition saying? And then followed that. When they paired it with the intuition, far, far more successful. So we have this intuition within us that is an ADHD superpower. Everybody can learn how to tune into it, but because ADHD folks were most often in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, outcast, made to feel different, they had to listen to their intuition more from the get-go. But the other thing behind this is drive and momentum. So ADHD people, when they listen to their intuition, it sparks something within. We feel this passion, we feel this desire. And when we listen to it, we go take action on it. We have this energetic system that swells and gets bigger and bigger. And it's this drive and this momentum to get us where we're going, which is why I believe, isn't it like 90+% of CEOs have ADHD? It's something really high, isn't it?
I've never heard that statistic. I, however, do believe that every entrepreneur is somewhere on the spectrum because you can have the smallest symptoms and only the best most positive symptoms, or you can really really struggle. So I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me just because I think we are leaders.
Yeah,
We can't
absolutely.
follow. It is impossible. And when we try to follow, we're miserable.
Yeah, 100%. And so, if that's the way that we were born with the brain that works this way, isn't that what God, Universe, Source wants of us? Is to not fit into the mold of what everybody else is, but to your point, lead. That is what we're here to do, is to lead. I'm going to look up the book so that you have the exact title of the guy, but it's one of the most fascinating books that I read. And in it, he talks about the research of how the United States has more ADHD people because we had the most people immigrating over. I have people who came over in colonial times on one side of the family, and folks from Sicily, Italy in the early 1900s. What they said is that in the rest of the world, you don't have as much ADHD. You have it all here in the US because it was passed down to us by the leaders of those times that said, oh, Sicily's broke. You can't even find a job over here. It's hard to eat. People are starving. We got to go. We got to get out. And they did, which I think is really, really fascinating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even what's going on in our country right now, we just are creatures of individuality, which other countries, they don't have to deal with it to the level that we have to.
It's the molecule of more. And you're right. I mean, I can't do what my team does for me. Like, I can't sit there and create the systems, and somebody comes in and is like, well, do you want this type of system over here? Where are your SOPs? I don't want any part of any of that. Like, you go take care of it for me, and we're all good. I just want to stay in my zone of creativity and channeling through, which I think it's such a gift to be able to work with people whose brains work differently. I love my team. I mean, they blow me out of the water. I can't believe the things that they come up with and they're able to do. I'm just not good at that.
Exactly. My strategy is always, okay, I need to do this thing. My first thought is not, how am I going to do it? What am I going to do? My first thought is, who can I get to do this for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's something I don't want to do.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And you can also understand why intuition would be so finely honed in our brains, because if the regular systems don't work, and if we're always it's that inconsistency, right? Where we're always kind of like, well, is my brilliant brain going to show up, or is it going to be the brain that's a challenge? That we would start to hone other senses, and really learn how to read them. And I think that is a lot of the reason why, like in math, where, we're supposed to do all the steps, but we have the answer. And we don't really know where the answer came from, but we have the answer, but we get marked down because we didn't write the steps out the way, they're supposed to be written out. Yet we came to the answer like this. We didn't need to write the steps out.
Yeah.
So I am curious. Okay, I know you believe that ADHD and spiritual gifts are closely connected. What are spiritual gifts? Because this sounds a little hippy dippy.
All good.
When
All
you're talking
good.
about, well, spirit wants me to insert this. When you're saying spirit wants me to, and I have become fairly spiritual. I think the whole idea of thought work, it's common sense, but it's also spiritual, right? That you believe your thoughts can create things. I just have to look around my home and I see that, oh, yeah, those were all my thoughts. That's why I have what I have, which means we can control our lives. So, talk to me about spiritual gifts and what that means to you.
It's listening to your heart. I had this moment when I was really little in elementary school, and I was talking to my dad. He was asking me about his day. Every night before bed, he would make this Metamucil drink. And I remember so clearly being in the kitchen, telling him how I was going to do this and I was going to do that when I grow up. And he got really quiet, which was unusual for my dad. And he came up to me and he picked me up and he set me on the counter so that he could see me eye to eye. And he goes, Julie, it really sounds like you think when you get to be older, you are going to be a different person in some way. But he said, let me tell you, the you that you are now is the same person that you're going to be when you're 40, when you're 60, when you're 100 years old. And he said, so you have to get used to living with that person. And he said, let me tell you this, if you will go along your entire life and you just listen to your heart, that little teeny tiny voice within yourself, You get silent, you ask it questions. It will never lead you astray. And you will get to the end of your life, Julie, and you will have no regrets. And I go, oh my gosh, he's so correct, right? Because I followed this. And I'd always been listening to that little voice within. And when I would follow it, things would go right. And when I wouldn't follow it, things wouldn't work out. It would be a struggle. You're trying to fit puzzle pieces in where they don't fit in life. And so my dad actually passed away August 5th of 2015. And I didn't know that he was gone because at the time something had happened and we weren't talking. On the day he passed, I remember brushing my daughter's hair. And as I'm touching her head, which is actually clairtangents, you get information from touching something. I heard she needs a hairbrush like I used. And then it repeated every single time I would brush my daughter's hair in the morning before school. She needs a hairbrush like I used. And because I'm a writer, I'm used to the way that words are written. She needs a hairbrush like I used. What hairbrush have I used in the past? There isn't any. I've always used this big old black paddle brush at the time. And so it repeated all month long to the point where I was like, I'm going crazy. I'm not just hearing my intuition anymore. I am hearing voices. What the F is going on with me? So I'm at work, corporate gig. My sister starts calling on repeat. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not normal. Pick up the phone. I'm in a business meeting. And she goes, Juge, Dad's passed. And immediately, boom, with my imagination, I could see this vision of my dad combing my hair when I was a little girl, using a hairbrush that looked similar to this. It's like a wooden handlebar with these boars like bristles. And I go, oh my God, my dad has been talking to me. And I had watched Teresa Caputo's show because that came on like 2011, right? And she's the Long Island medium. I had watched different mediums over the years. And I really truly believed that when a person has the ability to hear their loved ones on the other side or other people's loved ones, that it would sound like if I'm reading you and your grandma comes through, maybe it would sound exactly like your grandmother's voice when she was here. But that's not how it works. When readers, healers, intuitives, mediums do their work, what it sounds like is your own inner dialogue. What these folks have learned how to do and what it means to develop your spiritual gifts is to take time to understand how to differentiate between what is your egoic mind coming in, the monkey mind that's constantly chattering, bringing in fear, bringing in doubts, versus what is the intuition really sound like. And we're a Christian nation, like we have a lot of religious folks, Catholics, Jewish. We pray, Muslims, we all pray. And when people pray, it's not one-sided. We all expect to hear answers back to our prayers. What is that? That is the divine communication. And how does divine communication come in? The intuition. So, what you need, the tools that you have to be able to hear the intuition is the ability to raise your vibration to a point that I call oneness. So the highest vibration, that is the vibration of God, universe, source, is a vibration of oneness, where God, universe, source isn't this man or woman up in the sky. God, universe, source is an energy. It is all consciousness. It is everything, everywhere, all at once. And when you can learn how to raise your vibration into oneness, and you can connect into everything, everywhere, you can hear the intuition completely clearly. Now, I love your work, Tracy. I love how you work with a lot of scientists. And I think that we're just on the verge of a whole new understanding of so much more. I don't know, I can't tell you exactly how this fits in as a puzzle piece. I'm just 111% certain that it does fit in as a puzzle piece somewhere. There was a podcast that came out recently called the Telepathy Tapes, and it's about scientists, researchers, doctors who looked at people with autism. And we know that I truly believe ADHD is probably on a spectrum with autism. Okay, so we're all on the same page. So they looked at folks who have autism, but to the point of being nonverbal. So, really, the high end of the spectrum, right? And the parents of these children would be like, no, 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 no. My child is not a savant. They are reading my mind. And they would go, okay, well, let's do these tests. So they took these kids and they did tests of giving and showing the parent a number between 1 and 1,000, a 3-digit number. And the accuracy rate was 90% in these kids. They were reading another person's mind. Okay, well, if that's true and that's powerful, and I believe that it is true, what we're able to do is connect, not just reading another person's mind, but communicating with your loved ones on the other side. We all have angels, communicating with them and helping people understand what their future is and the direction that their soul wants to go. And then I don't want people to just listen to me and take my word for it. I want them to tune into their own energetics. I want them to tune into their own consciousness, their own intuition, and feel for themselves what is correct. Because what I believe, piggybacking off of what my dad taught me when I was a little girl, is if you follow your intuition your entire life, it builds, you grow tremendously. And that is what gives you fulfillment, which is why our souls are here.
And that's the part that makes complete sense to me because when we are doing what other people want us to do and feeling crappy and ignoring our own intuition, I don't know a better formula for unhappiness than that. The unhappiness is because you are not being more of who you really are. And so then we wear all these masks and we're miserable and we wake up one day and we've spent decades with one person just kind of going along, getting along, stuck in learned helplessness. And we're like, I got to get out of here because it's killing me. Literally, it turns into physical problems, mental health problems, right?
Yeah. You know what's so fascinating about this? Did a TED talk on it. 90% of the population, 92% passes away with regrets. The number one regret is not doing something in life because they worried about what other people would think. And so here we are as a group of ADHD folks, so worried to go off and do what we are called to do, what our heart, what our soul is calling us to do, what God, universe, source needs to bring into this world, because we are earth angels. We have to do the work. They can't come and do it for us. Otherwise they would have. And yet the rest of the population has it wrong. And they're making us out to be the ones that have it wrong. No, trailblaze forward. Go do the work. I truly believe that heaven on earth will come to this world when all of us listen to our intuition and just focus on doing what we were called here to do.
Well, and the thing then is, we will be so much happier. And so just think about it. If you walk through this world and you are happy with who you are, your neighbor's happy with who they are, your parents are happy with who they are, we wouldn't have all this angst. And I mean, I really believe that what's going on right now are just symptoms of trauma. trauma can be much worse than this, but trauma is also not being who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really hard way to live. And I think that those of us with ADHD brains, once we figure all this out and we move forward, we are the ones that are propelling this desire, this need, right? That it's okay to be who you really are. And if I'm okay with who I really am and you're okay with who you really are, isn't that just a much better world to live in than, oh, you need to do this because I say you need to do this, that, or the other thing, right?
Oh my gosh, for sure, for sure. And what's that saying? Hard times create strong people create good times. And I think that's the truest thing. Those strong people, those are your ADHD people. Hard times create strong people. Strong people create good times create weak people create hard times. And that's where we are today. There has been a cycle. And, no matter who you're looking at or what you're looking at, the systems that we've had in place before, they haven't worked. And we are creating new systems here and now. There are some great pieces that have worked. Keep what worked, get rid of what didn't. And we have to move forward together as a collective because I just heard this said the other day in a business class. In 1 year from now, 2025, 1 year from now, the basic computer that you get will be smarter than your own brain. The one computer that you get 8 years from now will have the capacity and the same intelligence as all human minds connected. That is where we're going. We are on the precipice. And if you're listening right here, right now, Tracy, you, me, everybody here, your soul was called to this moment in time for a reason. You have gifts, you have skills, you are supposed to share with the world. And if you're holding that back, other people can't get where they're going as fast, as quick as they need to. They need you. They need you.
And I think today there's so much fear instead of looking at all the opportunity. The world is going to change with you or without you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, positive emotion, that's energy. It just resonates at a higher level. Everybody wants to be around that. So if we could all be focused on the positive emotion and what actually lights you up and sets you on fire instead of all of this negative emotion, which just pulls you down, I can't imagine. I mean, I've preached this forever now. When we are in positive emotion, we do better, we do well, we feel good. That's where we need to go, not all of this, everything that's wrong and everything that needs to be pulled down. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for how the energy moves. I mean, there are people who have been just doom scrolling for a couple of months now, and they're not doing anything. We have to break that pattern. You have to break that cycle. You have to take action. You are waiting for somebody to come in because we have been spoon fed movies, hero movies, and you want somebody else to come in. There's no one coming.
It's you.
We are it. You are it. You are a part of the collective puzzle. If you are not going to do what you are here to do, whether that is go and be an advocate, whether that is going to feed hungry kids, whether that is going to be to start your own business, no matter what it is, then we can't get to heaven on earth. That's my belief. And we need you to be doing what you need to do. So get up and ask your own intuition. This is a great first step. Ask your own intuition. What's my next first step? You do not have to know. This is where I work with thousands and thousands of people each year. And most people will say, I don't want to get started until I know exactly what to do for the next 25 years. You're never going to know. What's the next first step? If you can take that next first step, you're going to get where you're going.
Absolutely. I love that. Love it. Okay, so before I let you go, I want to know, what is your number one ADHD workaround?
Breaking patterns. breaking my own patterns.
Tell me what that means.
That when I notice I'm so in the present moment, I stay in oneness and I notice that my body is shifting and that I am going to a negative space, or I'm getting too concerned about this or that, or I'm kind of spiraling. Okay, we got to break that pattern. What do we need to do to break that pattern? I'm going to tune into my intuition. I'm going to take action. I'm going to smile. I'm going to be in those good emotions that you were
Yep.
talking to. I mean, just smiling, just sitting here and smiling itself, give yourself like the biggest grin right here, right now, lights up 3 different good chemicals within your brain.
Yeah.
Just doing that. Everybody can smile. You want to change your life? Start smiling more to everyone that passes you by. Start asking God, universe, source, whatever you believe in, what's my next first step? Ask it every day and then go do those things for the day. You're going to make huge strides within 1 year.
Julie, I love that. That is one of the best ADHD hacks. It's completely different than what people normally tell me. That is a great one. I love it. Love it. So, where can people find you, Julie, if they want to know more about you and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. I have a book and podcast, both by the same name, Angels and Awakening. You can also find me at my website, theangelmedium.com. And I'm on Instagram at Angel Podcast.
All of that will be in the show notes. Julie, thank you so much for spending time with us here today.
Tracy, thank you for what you do and making sure that ADHD people don't feel alone or wrong or bad. You are such an earth angel in this world. Thank you.
Aw, thank you, Julie. It was a pleasure.
You too.
That's what I have for you for this week. If you like this episode with Julie, please let us know by leaving a review. Our goal is to change the conversation around ADHD, helping as many women as we possibly can learn how their ADHD brains work so that they too may discover their amazing strengths. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you here next week.